welcome to another episode, an Europreneur, the podcast where Niels of our interview different entrepreneurs from the EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization. All of them are amazing entrepreneurs based somewhere in Europe. And today I have a very special guest, the president of London, Pajani Singah. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Good. The summer's here, so it's always a good when the weather is better. Helps the mood.
And you guys are having a much stronger summer in the last few years, right?
Yeah, this is the fact. I think global warming is hitting us pretty hot here at the moment. So unusual weather patterns. But in one sense, you can't complain too much because it's kind of nice to be warm in London. You can actually use your garden. You pay a fortune for it, and then you don't ever use it. So that's good. There's upside to it.
Yeah, well, I come from Israel. We always have some sort of a summer, so it's a bit different. And what is I don't know if I told you this. Every time I start a podcast, I ask people to give me their kind of elevator pitch, 60 seconds, random, completely random. Talk about whatever you want, who you are, what you do, family, and everything. And I'll ask you to do it now and like wing it. So have fun with it.
Well, okay, great. So I am Pajani Singah. I originally come from a small island in Africa, Mauritius. So I've been living in the UK for about 20 years. I'm married with an English wife and two boys, 5 and 7. I live in a nice part of London called Wimbledon Village. And my main kind of passion and purpose in life is to run my company called Amazonia Impact Ventures, which is an impact company. And what we do is we try and address climate change by using, repurposing capitalism, basically repurposing money and the way the system has worked in previous centuries. What is the result? Is as a result why we are here today with this whole global and other global issues that we have. So I just finished my A level, which is your high school. So I was 19. Well, as every young man, you're stuck on a small island. You want to get out and see the world. And to move to Europe was part of what I always wanted to do. And I just think London is such an amazing place and very meritocratic. Um, Someone like me who come from a marginalized community would not have done as well anywhere else in the world, or at least where I come from in those days. Things have changed, have moved on now, but I find this city very meritocratic and opportunities are there for everyone who works really hard. And that's why I want to live here and stay here.
You moved to study. Why did you move? You wanted to move to London, but there was an excuse.
Oh yeah, so yeah. Initially, I came to study. I never went to university. Couldn't afford it, so I went straight into work, and I did my training as a chartered accountant alongside working full time. So basically, working full time and studying full time. Um, so that was the main reason to get some sort of kind of understanding of business and financial markets was always what attracted me. And I think this is where my core skills lie is in finance. And now, my company is how repurposing finance um, is what I do using the skills that I learned. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I just thought, just use your strength to make a difference.
It's interesting. I think many entrepreneurs don't reinvent the wheel, but rather understand how it works and connect it to something else in a sense. Do you think being an immigrant coming at 19, not being able to study, and then doing everything in parallel is a driving force? Is that something that motivated you?
I think growing up on an island where you had to really grind. It's like being an entrepreneur from day one. Everyone wants to try and sell you something there. So I think that DNA and my ancestors came probably from India 5 generations ago. They were the one who were the risk takers. The British told them, "Oh, there's gold there," but actually they never told them it was white gold, which is sugarcane, not real gold. So they all jumped on that boat. So I think the risk taking part of me probably come from generations from 5 generations ago. So it was the challenge, and I don't like to be sitting and not not doing not being challenged. For me, I get bored very quickly, so I need to be challenged all the time. And finding opportunities is, I think, a core entrepreneurial.
You finish at what age did you finish your accounting degree, and then what? What age were you at?
So I studied for around 4 years, while working, like I mentioned. I work in different places, from McDonald's to stacking supermarket shelves. I never actually worked in an accounting firm, um, because that I was not. I didn't tick the box to get these jobs. So I did it the other way. Um, but then, yeah, around, it took me about 4 years, and then I worked in a group of hotel as kind of financial assistant, and then worked for 10 months in a bank, which was called State Street Bank. And this is when I realized, this is not for me. I cannot do this. So that's where I left, and I joined the fund where I'm still a partner, which is a small company, which is a small hedge fund, where I'm still a partner now, 15 years later. And I thought, well, there's nothing to lose here. Let's try that. And then, we built a company since then. And yeah, that was my journey. And then this is how I learned all the core skills in finance that I've learned through, learning from my partners at Inflection Point.
It's interesting. I hear you say I did some stuff and then I joined the hedge fund, and the gap in between, kind of like, where's that? Um, what can you give us some tips? Young entrepreneurs are now hustling hard, trying to do work and learn. What are some things that you can share with us as tips for those who are just students and trying to figure it out?
I think, I think many people work hard in life. I think everyone works hard. There's only a few people who don't work hard. But it's about being smart in what you're working hard at. And also, I wish I had a kind of a good mentor at this age, and I think this is why mentorship is so important within EO and outside of EO, is kind of giving your time to younger people to make them become more efficient at what they do. And I think if I had a mentor, I would probably have achieved things much quicker. I wouldn't have wasted a lot of time, but it was all part of the journey. So if I didn't go through it, I wouldn't know. But now I have children, I want to be a mentor to them and say, look, you don't have to waste your time doing these things, because you may as well do something else. As an example, that kind of, for me, would have been game changing, I think.
Do you think people have to study today with the world changing, social media, all the content on the internet? People need to study, and if so, why?
I think you need to learn how to learn. Studying doesn't really do that much if you don't really go and if you're actually not learning anything. And I think that's a very core skill I want to put in my children from a young age, is learn how to learn something. Because I don't know if it makes sense, but if you don't really know how to process and apply information in a very efficient way, your output is very bad. So you need to have good input to have a really good output. So whatever you want to study or whatever you want to research is always good, right? Yes, I do think studying is important, because it gives you, well, the more you put in, the more you can get out. But it's learning efficiently and actually using it for something useful, which I think is the core thing for me.
Interesting. I always hear people talk about going to study university or college as the degree in terms of just the learning, whereas I would mainly put it, I was an average student. The networking was amazing, which is kind of same things I apply with an EO today, with meeting as many members and things like that. I think for me, the networking is so crucial. Do you still find people that you went to school with, or you did business 20 years ago and you're still in touch, or you can call them and get some? The networking is important, no?
Yeah, it is. But I never went to university, like I said, but I did build my network in other ways. So it's not crucial. You know, if you want to be in finance, you don't have to go and do an MBA at Harvard, in my opinion. I think you can learn and you can do bolt-on studying along the way, which I did. I did some courses along the way, executive education stuff, and through EO, I've done other bits. So you can always learn differently. It doesn't mean you have to take the traditional path of finishing your high school and then go to university. If you can't afford it, it's a huge barrier, and I think employees or employers should look at not box ticking people because they are missing out on a lot of talent. If that's the case.
I couldn't agree more. We don't look at the CV at my company. We kind of find talent, and we also hire a lot of the students in the middle of their school and say, hey, you seem like you might be interesting or might be willing to learn different things. Let's try it out. I love what you're saying. You went to hedge funds, right?
Yeah. So it's a small investment management company, and they just label it hedge fund. Basically, it's traditional, you know, investing and then
For
taking different side of the market
Yeah,
opinion.
for those who don't exactly understand, could you give us like a day to day? Like, what do you do? What does a hedge fund? What is your position? Like, what? How does your day look like? Because we think it looks like the TV show Billionaires. You know?
It's not like that. I mean, I can speak from how we, operate, not from other hedge funds. Some hedge funds are crazy. They're doing trades every millisecond. We don't do that. I think for us, we do. So going long is when you buy something and you take a long-term view on it, and going short is when you believe something is pretty rubbish and you want to short it because it's overvalued. And I think that is a important part of the market because sometimes things get overhyped, and the way to correct this is to let the market actually correct it itself by allowing people to short it. Now, there should be regulation about that, but for us, what we do is we very much take a very long view on investments, and then if we find some dinosaurs or some rubbish or someone telling porkies along the way, then we will take a different side of that trade. Even that will be with a long-term view. It doesn't happen overnight. So that's how we operate. But I know funds who basically lay their own cable to get millisecond advantage on internet broadband so that they can trade. That's a very different. That's almost gambling, in my opinion. So very different. I guess it's all gambling in the end, right?
So you do
But
less investments, less pressure.
no, it's yeah, we have smaller number of companies we invest in. It's very entrepreneurial driven businesses. So, the founders is very important. You speak to the founders of the business is always a key part of the investment decisions. And that's why, being an entrepreneur on the other side is it's important to actually really, really know what you do in your company and also be able to put that message out there because investors invest some time in the entrepreneur, not just in the company itself. They have to have trust in the person they're investing through. And I think this is why EO companies, are very trustworthy because the core values are there, trust and respect, and bold, whatever. But as an investor, you want to look at the company's founder and say, is this guy a joker or not? You know.
But you also need to present some sort of a trust, right? People need to come to you, trust you with their businesses, the money they give you, to know, to make, I don't know, judgment calls that are not based on ego or other aspects of how you make decisions. How how do you treat that when people have doubts? Do you say, okay, if you doubt, no problem, you're out, or do you convince them these are big businesses, this is huge money?
Um, I mean, I can only speak from my own experience. So with my new company, Amazonia Impact Ventures, what I've decided was, we need to build a track record with our own capital. Okay, I am quite lucky that I'm able to do that with my partners, but we decided to build our track record and really prove the business model works and you can make money and still have an impact on the environment and people's and livelihood. And that is if people don't believe that, then there's not really much you can do. You just move on, go to the next investor who actually will believe you. But the facts and figures are there. You have to show your processes, your due diligence is there, and I think all these skills you learn through time by being working environment or different businesses you run. So your track record, I think, is very important. Sometimes you start a new company and you don't have a track record, but your previous uh, background or track record from a previous company will always be very relevant.
It's interesting. I hear you talk about businesses and things, but you had a very, let's say, not orthodox way of becoming an entrepreneur. You joined the fund, and then you went and you became kind of that, and then years after you start Amazonia. How long has it been since you joined until you decided you want to open your own thing or a new thing?
No, but you see, in the fund, it's very entrepreneurial. It's a small company. There's only a few of us, so there's still a business to run there. You're still raising money. You're still marketing. Your product is managing money, but you are running a business. You have the same issues as everyone else. You have staff issues. You have rent to pay in. So it's very that much. But I also have run multiple businesses. I used to run a company called Music for London, where people would hire performers and musicians from all over the world. I mean, the most, I think, funny one was in 2008. There's a company in Qatar called Qatar Gas. They wanted to hire some Shaolin monks to do a martial arts show for their big annual gala dinner for 2,000 employees, just to show to China, we are very cultural aware, but they couldn't get the Chinese out of China because of visa issues. So they rang me in London, say, "Can you find 8 Shaolin monks for us?" Which I've happily found, and we traveled there and did the show. So I've done a lot of other things and of businesses that have failed as well. Like we opened a restaurant in Muswell Hill, and that's like the worst business to ever open, right? I became a victim of the 99% of people that open a restaurant and fail. So I have done that as well. So along the way, while still being at the fun, I did other things. Then it brought me back to my core value, which is, you know what? I understand more how to make money work. So I should then start an impact investment company, which have we have done. And last year in November, we won an award at COP26 as most innovative finance company addressing deforestation. So I always should have stayed in money. The other ventures have given me experience, but it brought me back to the core skill where I started 15 years ago.
I love the fact that you sometimes have to do the whole circle of trying everything else to come back to say this is what I'm good at. So I'll ask you, what's the weirdest job you've ever done?
The weirdest job. Um, I think taking H random Shaolin monks to Qatar was probably the way up there. But I have done gigs where we've hired camels and zebras and for very, very rich clients, and they whatever they wanted to get, we would get it. Someone tried to get lions and tigers once. We nearly got it, but in the end, I thought, well, that is really pushing the boundary. So we kind of pulled out of this. So we left it to other people to do. Um, but kind of the lowest paid of all will probably be, uh, stacking newspaper uh, on a trolley at 2 o'clock in the morning in Gravesend, somewhere down, Kent area, which is not a very nice place in the UK to work at night, especially to go all the way there. And then waking up and going to school the next day, to college the next day. So, yeah, I mean, look, you name it, I've done everything. Like,
I I hear you. I think I can beat you on those ones. Now hearing you speak, and I'm looking back at what I did over the years. Um, I worked at a love line called Love Me, where people would call for like $1 a minute, and I would connect them. So it's matchmaking. Um, I worked in
uh, the,
construction. We would tear down. apartment. So we would tear down the walls, and then we had to carry the bags with the wall downstairs. I worked in a gas station. I worked in an ice cream shop. I sold cigarettes at a kiosk. I've done anything to survive, I think, as a kid, like doing stuff like that. But I loved it. It makes a good story at the end, right? It's part of it.
Yeah, like it gives you grit, right? I've done construction work as well. It really gives you grit. Like, now when you have your own house, someone try and take you for a ride, you say, dude, I'm not stupid. This doesn't cost £20,000 to do. It like costs you 2 grand to do. So it does give you real life experience as well. And hopefully children should be allowed to go and do these things and also allowed to fail. And I think, that's why America is great. The more you fail, the more you can raise money in America by the look of it. Because they say, oh, he's learned his lesson 5 times. He should be doing it this properly this time. Whereas in Europe, I just find, there's like, many places in the world, there's like this taboo about failing, about, pride. I thought, no, children should be allowed to go and young entrepreneurs should be allowed to try things and within reason and, and experience failure.
You go decide to build an impact fund, raising money. Um, Two questions I have. One is, do you raise from anyone around Europe? They need to have a certain amount of money. And secondly, the people say, impact fund, I don't care, I want to make money. Does it still have like this aura about it? Is it cool or not? How do people perceive impact funds today, in your opinion?
I mean, we are an impact investment company. It's not a fund as such. So we are actually investing in our money is actually going into businesses, and we're also part of these businesses. Sometimes we are actively involved in technical assistance and giving them advisory role, and also sometimes doing the work ourselves on the ground. But I think to your comment, I about return. Many investors, everyone calls themselves an impact investor nowadays. But when you go and talk to them, they want market type return. Then I say, well, you know you can make really good returns, but as the industry is evolving and developing, the returns will be lower, and you have to accept lower yield. This is definitely for true. People say, "Oh, ESG investing, you can make market cap return." Yes, but look, the market is down 30% now, and we run. We have a product where you're still making. It's a debt, so you're making lower yields, about 6% or so. We haven't done equity yet. Um, we have equity investments, but we haven't opened it up for investors. But you know, if you want to have impact in a very new niche, you you have to be able to first really say impact is what is really driving me here. I've made enough money. I want my money to work, and I don't mind accepting a lower return if need be. But I know that that return will grow because I'll be the first mover. I will be the first mover in this particular niche. I mean, impact is huge, right? You can do many things. Some part of impact is very developed, and for example, addressing unemployment among uh, certain demographic in society. That's kind of always already quite developed. But if you are looking at climate, I think the climate is got a long way to go where we operate, and at the moment, we have had one investor in Europe and one from Asia, but I think a lot of our investment will come from America because of the way the system is structured there with foundations able to invest. So I think America is where we will be raising a lot of our funds going forward.
Do you think we actually have the power as individuals to organize some people and some money and make a big impact on the world?
Oh, I truly believe that through entrepreneurship, that's one of the key ways we're going to address the global goals. The looking if we change, I mean, the way businesses used to operate without considering externalities in the past, the Friedman way, that has to change. And I think entrepreneurs are the ones who are going to resolve problems. Like, take an example, like we found the issue about deforestation and how do you associate that with indigenous communities, and we found a way to create a business around this. And I think entrepreneurs that are really good at this, and any of these 17 SDGs, if all 16,000 members in a year start looking at through the lens about using the framework to how to address these SDGs for their business, collectively as a cohort, we have much bigger impact on society because we employ millions of people than any government or big, large institution. Because we work faster, we're more efficient, we can bootstrap if we need to, we will make it work. Entrepreneurs are problem solvers. That's why my purpose is to really empower entrepreneurs. That's why I do this role as president. It's a voluntary role, right? It takes me away from my family, it takes me away from my business. But I still think it's worth the cause. If I could, for example, today speaking to you, you kind of start thinking, hey, you know what? I can employ more women for my business. I should make it a 1-for-1. That's my core change in the articles of my company. That has a huge impact on the rest of the people of society.
Small business owners can't do big things, right? There's this saying of working in the business or on the business. What are some tips you could give them to think about making an impact, a positive impact?
No, I disagree. I think any size, any business can have an impact. If you build a business model where if you actually can't make any money, if you factor your externality costs in there, that means it's the wrong business because that's not sustainable. If you can make a business that factoring, I don't know, the cost you can have for buying sustainable raw materials at a high price, but then you can also charge a higher price for it. I'm just giving an example here. Your business will be much more attractive to an investor or to attract talent in the future because they know that this company is doing the right thing and the way consumers will behave in the future, behaving or already changing their ways, is consume less, buy better quality stuff. For example, if you are in the B2C or in e-tailing, but things that are not sustainable, fast fashion, etc., will disappear, in my opinion, as more and more consumers become more aware of the problems we have in society.
Yeah, it's interesting. What I hear from you is kind of the decision to be better, to have an impact, is connected to what your brand wants to represent or show to the outside world. And then how is that connected to the business, right? To make actually money and be sustainable over longer periods of time. We know that most small businesses disappear within the first to 5 years. And then that will attract the right talent and hopefully also the right audience. So starting from I want to make an impact could actually have an impact on everything you do in the business.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? Those who are like, I had to create a new business because I just didn't think working in the financial markets, I could make much of a difference there because it's more of a box ticking exercise. The money doesn't go. As a small fund, you don't really have much influence on how the companies behave. The larger institutions do, but taking other businesses, they don't have to go and reinvent the wheel or start a new business. They can just either pivot into a new product line, for example, stop using unsustainable things or changing the way they employ people, or just looking deeply in their value in their supply chain and see, okay, have I actually gone down there to check if this is really sustainably sourced? I'm just again taking commerce here, but if you're a consultant, for example, if you're running a management consulting firm or your advisory firm, do you really price in the carbon footprint that you have when you travel around? Do you pay for it? Do you offset it? How many businesses do offset it, for example? I'm not saying this is the only solution, but that's like a lot of companies that I've spoken to, management consultant, large one, they say, oh, actually, we never build the carbon factor of the consultants traveling abroad, and we don't have an offset project to match that.
Can I do it now? I have a business, we travel, I've traveled quite extensively the last year. How can I offset my footprint, carbon footprint? How can I do it?
Well, okay, the airlines offer them, but it's debatable if it's the right thing or if they're really offsetting. But there are plenty of projects out there now where your company could say, I'll give a grant to these organizations. Like we can, for example, our company we can reforest a large part of the Amazon rainforest with not a huge amount of money. And you don't have to do it as a core principle, not because you think, oh, this is the PR exercise for me. That has to be built in your core values, saying we have to be net negative if we can. We can't always offset everything, but if you have a plan in place saying, okay, well, we're going to do this grant every year with this specific organization to do this, and our staff also can be involved if they want to be, just bring more purpose into the business. I mean, the more purpose you bring in your company, the more your business will be more successful.
You're focused on the forests in around the Amazon River, am I correct?
Yeah. So yeah,
Why
we operate
did you go
mainly
there?
in the Amazon because if you want to as an individual, if you want to have the maximum impact, I kind of tried this for many years. You can be a vegetarian, you can run marathons, you can do all sorts of things, but in the end, the impact is small. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but I just thought I am sitting in a very privileged position in society where I have knowledge, I have contacts, and I could probably have a very large impact, more than anyone else could do. So hence why, and addressing deforestation benefits the whole of the community in the world, right? If we could, our company can protect, preserve, and regenerate large part of the Amazon rainforest, that's our contribution to society.
How big is the Amazon problem on our day to day when you look at, I don't know, the UK, Israel, other countries in Europe? Does that have an impact on us?
Of course, it has a global impact on the global climate. The Amazon is the lungs of the planet, and you know, the size of, I think, Wales is cleared every 20 minutes or something. Look, there are loads of stats out there, but a huge part of the forest is being cleared because a lot of the time because of agriculture, or illegal logging, illegal mining. And for us, we thought if we empower these communities to actually be able to maintain and watch their own territories, and they wouldn't then have to cut down the forest or sell the land to illegal logging and so on and so on. So by empowering them, and that's the core value of the business, by empowering indigenous communities, we can have an impact on the forest. Um, and then you have to give them the technical assistance to do so. But that's part of the blended capital approach. We've decided to go using a blended capital model, whereas debt, equity, growth. That's how we operate the business. But and the Amazon is for us was the obvious way because my business partner is from Peru and knows the Amazon rainforest very well. So for us, that's where we pivoted towards in the end.
You think we can fix it? Everyone comes to you, we say, hey, we need your support. Is there a place where they can donate a little bit towards the foundation, the fund, and so on, to promote it, to make it something big? If 100,000 people now say, we'll take it upon us, can we fix it?
I think you can resolve a lot of these issues. The Yes, but I also think as we if the idea is if we get scale, then we have also other soft influence on trade in the area and talking to government agencies, because the problem is it's a very complex problem, right? We are not going to be resolving the whole problem. We're going to be resolving indigenous community land issues if we can, but there's loads of other issues in trading in the Amazon. And I think if customers, for example, buy sustainably sourced product from the forest instead of buying cheap stuff which is not verified coming out from the forest, that has a huge impact on the forest. So people need to look where they and make sure that they are buying sustainably sourced products from the Amazon, because a lot of the stuff is not certified or actually contributing large part to deforestation. Yeah, we can all do our bit, but you know, investing. The more communities we invest, the larger the areas you have under you can have an influence.
Interesting. I'm listening to you speak, and I'm thinking about the fact that we can actually solve big problems if we come together, which has a lot to do with the community of entrepreneurs and stuff like that. But I think, in a sense, it's not just about money or entrepreneurs. I think it has to do a bit with finding the right leaders and the people that are we want to follow them, that have a vision that we like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, I started a company. Uh, my journey has been to, with EO. I went on a conference in Macau a few years ago and I saw a speaker. His name is Daniel Epstein from Unreasonable. I have met him since, and I've told him, Daniel, thank you, because of you, I started Amazonia. And he said, well, he hasn't, but he kind of got me. It's basically surrounding yourself with people who are trying to make a difference. That rubs off you, right? I just sat there and said, what am I doing to actually address this? I have a very comfortable life. And it's the people in the most deprived areas of the world that are actually bearing the brunt of this. And it kind of ran home when I actually went back home to Mauritius one day with my children for holiday, and I realized part of the beaches that I used to go to as a child is no longer there. I say, what sort of world am I leaving for my children? If I don't try, they will look at me one day and say, you basically, sat there and didn't do anything during your lifetime, and you've left us to pick up the pieces. And I think for me, that's a really clear drive for me to make a difference. I want them to be proud of me, and I want to leave a good legacy for them. And that's the main purpose for me in life. And it's for the children, my children and children of other people.
You and I have spent quite a few days in different places around the world. Also, Macau was one of them, and we spoke a little bit about
Yeah.
marketing and content and other things. I would dare you to have another website that does an A/B testing that has the page. I want my kids to be proud of me for my legacy, and see if people join you. Because I have a feeling that when I heard you, I'm like, powerful stuff. I want to be part of it. And it's sometimes we won't do stuff for ourselves, but we would do it for the next generation. And I think that might be very
Mm.
interesting to try out and see what happens. Because an investor can make an investment, they can make
Okay.
an impact
Well,
investment, or they can leave a legacy for their kids.
or they can give a grant and then reforest chunks of it and put their name on it. Um, no, I actually think one key, one key, um, being human. I think we get the most purpose when we make someone else happy. Like, we can buy as many things for us materialistic, but when you actually make someone happy, that's the most fulfilling feeling you have, in my opinion. And that is the feeling I'm trying to get when I try and do this, is for my children to be, to be happy one day and be proud. And that is the ultimate aim, right? Is to fulfill that sense of purpose.
What I'm hearing is I'm very good with money. I know how to make money work. What I enjoy doing is a sense of purpose and making other people happy on the journey.
Yeah, and the whole thing about social finance is, if there's no business behind it, it's just pure giving, it doesn't resolve the issue. We've tried this for many, many years. And that's why I believe in social entrepreneurship. And that's why I want every single entrepreneur to think about these problems through their business and apply the 17 Sustainable Development Goals framework, or whatever framework you feel like you want to use, B Corp, whatever. There's loads of them. But really build that purpose and build that into your business model now. Don't wait, because if you do it now, you'll have a competitive edge over people, or you'll get swallowed by the new businesses with younger social entrepreneurs coming to the market.
Interesting. We have this thing, right? The BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal, part of the scaling up concept. Um, if I come visit you in 5 years and we're having a toast to celebrate the
Yeah.
last win, the latest win of your business, what do you see as your big, hairy, audacious goal? That one thing you're aiming for in 5, 10 years, whatever.
My BHAG has always, I built my we've built Amazon. I keep saying we've built Amazonia with one big hack is we want to protect and influence 1 million hectares of forests in the Amazon, because that has a big impact for the rest of the world. And if many people can go and do the same, it's a large area, so we need more people to do stuff. So that will be my contribution, and that will be my big hack. Like, try and save and protect 1 million hectares of forest and make it run sustainable businesses that come out of it, so that it's regenerative, it's sustainable, and there's a circular economy around it, built around it, so that the forest stays here for next generations, but we still benefit from it.
I do these podcasts because I love meeting people, because I'm part of the entrepreneurs organization, because we're building a marketing thing and everything. During every single chapter I've done so far, every episode, by the end of it, I feel I've changed a little bit. And you are leaving with the
It's
two
good.
things. One, I can make a difference, and I appreciate that. And secondly, the difference I think I can make is offsetting my carbon footprint, because I'm traveling a lot for speaking gigs and other stuff. And I'll probably reach out to you to find a way of how to offset that. And I think as a company, we will also start looking what are the small changes or impacts we can do, minor as it might be, but to give us a sense of purpose that we are bringing something back. We're not stepping on anyone's land, toes, and stuff like that, and trying to see. So as we're wrapping up, I on a personal level, I want to say thank you for this. I appreciate the time.
No, thank you for making the time as well and speaking to me.
So before we finish, give us a little bit, if people want to follow about Amazonia, last things you want to tell us, things we should know, where can they find you?
Well, they can contact me directly if they are your members, or if they are not your members, just email us from the website amazoniaimpactventures.com, and follow us on LinkedIn. And if they want to get involved somehow, and want to learn more, want to go and visit some of these communities where we're operating, I'm going there in December, so please get in touch, and we'll put the link on the chat later. And yeah, and contact me, and any feedback or anything will always be welcome. It's constructive.
Pajani, I have a feeling this is the beginning of an impact session, that people will see this, and actually, I really hope some will contact you, some will visit in December or other times, and we will do everything in our power through the network, to the organizational network with 17,000 people, to help your cause. I love it. And again, thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Awesome.
So we're wrapping another chapter. Thank you for being here, listening, watching, wherever you might be on this planet. If you're an entrepreneur, keep hustling, have fun. I'm Nir Zavao. Thank you very much, Pajani. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.